Grounded is an arts, wellness, and media brand that is rooted in healing through creativity and culture. Create space and time with Grounded and be inspired to lead a well balanced life. Live your life authentically and freely with Grounded.
Hello, beautiful beings. You are now tuning in to the Grounded podcast, where we share your art, wellness, and lifestyle stories to connect and inspire. We are coming at you today from EPX headquarters in Taguig, Metro Manila. And I'm your host, Bianca Yuzon Henares. Our next guest is a renowned stylist with a colorful and esteemed career spanning more than 15 years. A game changer in the fashion industry, she is the voice, vision, and driving force behind heritage fashion brand Herman and Co, which pays homage to her Sulu roots and empowers indigenous weaving communities in Mindanao. This proud German Chavacano Tausug Pinay beauty also happens to be a dancer, secretly a really great phone photographer, and makes some of the most delicious cookies ever. Whether she's a brand ambassador or a speaker for brands like Uniqlo or Glenfiddich, she remains generous, hardworking, and humble. With a fantastic sense of humor, she oozes creativity and artistry, from the way she hones her craft to even her everyday stories on Instagram. She wears her spirit the same way she does one of her Elena capelets or signature oversized jackets, humbly and regally at once, whether barefoot or in heels. Give it up for Bea Constantino.
Woohoo!
Woo!
Hey guys,
Give it.
I feel like is my eulogy. That was such a great description of me. Thanks, guys.
Well,
Hey,
it's
hey,
it's all
hey.
true. Welcome to Grounded Radio.
Thanks for having me.
This is your first podcast, right?
Ever.
It's
Yeah.
done, dude. It's done.
I
You can go
know.
home now. Just
Oh my
kidding.
gosh, yeah. Take that off,
So,
yeah.
Bea, let's take
Yes.
it back to the very beginning. What made you fall in love with fashion?
I was never really one of those fashion girls wherein like I had stories of like playing dress up in my mom's closet. Because I grew up with two older brothers, so I never really had fashion moments as a young child. But growing up, actually, I'm originally a dancer, so I was studying ballet, jazz, that whole thing before.
In New York, right? Even.
Well, first here in Steps Dance Studio, and then I went to New York for a year to study dance. And then when I came back here, I kind of like, I feel like a lot of people will be able to relate also because I kind of like didn't know what I wanted to do. I had a degree in psychology. So I really didn't know what I wanted to be yet at the time. Like I didn't even know what my passion was aside from dancing. And then I was kind of like just slacking around for a year. And I met a friend, Bebeth Timbol, and then she's like, "Do you like clothes?" I was like, yeah, sure." "Do you like fashion?" I was like, "Sure." Although yun nga, I was never a fashion girl. And then she's like, "If you're looking for a job, come tomorrow." So she gave me the address for ABS-CBN Publishing, and then I went because I needed a job. It was formalities na lang pala, so I got accepted as a fashion assistant for Pink magazine. So as a fashion assistant, I knew nothing about fashion. I didn't know who the designers were. I didn't even know what borrowing clothes was like, or basta like how shoots went, nothing. But I always knew what made me fall in love with the fashion, I guess. It's not just fashion per se. I mean, I'm even now, like, you see me, like, I'm always just laid back. It's not just fashion per se, it's more of the creating side of, I guess, what fashion is. So I would just kind of like be by myself and like, I like writing stories, choreographing dances, or even writing songs and stuff like that. So for me, it's even until now, like as a fashion stylist, I've been doing it for 16 years. It's just something that I like doing because of the creating, not just the creative process, but the creating part of it. Like I like to create, like conceptualize stuff. And that's what I guess still makes me stay in this industry. Yeah.
I love it. And what was your transition to becoming like a full-time real stylist like?
Oh, so I started in the magazine. So my dad had always been an advertising guy. I think this is something that we have in common.
Yes.
Actually, they knew each other.
From the same company.
From the same company, yeah. So my dad was always an advertising guy, and then ever since he told the three of us, like, whatever career you're gonna pursue, just never get into advertising,
Oh wow.
because I guess he knew the stress and the ego and like the pressure that went with it. My eldest brother's first job was in an advertising agency. My second brother got into marketing, so it's still kind of like ad sales kind of stuff. And then me now, I'm a freelance stylist and I do a lot of advertising work. Um, but before that, so I had been doing this for 16 years. Before that, so yeah, I got into the magazine. My first salary was 8,000 pesos. I was so proud of that. But so for him, it was a hobby. Like I was really young at the time, so for him it was a hobby. Na okay, you just do your thing, like release whatever creative juices you have, and then
On the side.
on the side, and then like cause yun nga, I was making peanuts, right? And then maybe after a few years, ano, parang that's when you'll start really like pursuing a career in like banking. He always wanted something typical, right? Like their generation, they always wanted you to they
Be a
always want you to
doctor or
be a doctor,
lawyer.
a professional, or pursue something in business. I think, which is ironic because even like our dads, they were both in the creative field,
Arena of
right?
advertising.
But like my dad, just for us, he didn't want us to go through like whatever pressure they went through. I had been in ABS-CBN publishing for maybe like 3 to 4 years, and then I moved on to Chalk magazine. And then after that, I was kind of feeling like, look, I'm just making this much, and I mean, I really enjoyed my time in the magazine. Like, for me, that was my training ground. That was my school. Because again, I mean, I really didn't know anything about fashion. And then after that, an opportunity came for me to style, I think, like a print ad. I just did it. And as I say, the rest is history. I was earning okay. But still, I mean, having spent like a few years in the magazine industry, like I owed my dad like so much money. Because of course, like you're making just exact for your,
You're still dependent somehow.
yeah, like exact for your gas to go to the office, and then
Food.
I had to have nice clothes and food pa, and going out and events and stuff. So I would borrow from my dad, and he just like give me money, but he's like, okay, just pay it back when you can. So of course, when I started making money from rackets or like advertising jobs, I had to kind of slowly pay him back. So I really wasn't making much. In my first like, I don't know, 7 years. And then I kept borrowing from them, or I kept saying like, oh yeah, I wanted to do this or buy this, but I don't have enough. I need to save up for it. And then one day, I think it was like, if it was 2000, maybe it was like 5 years or 6 years into being a stylist, I came home, and parang there was an intervention. So it was my dad and my mom, and they sat me down. They were like, what's your plan? And then I was like, oh, what do you mean? Like, I'm enjoying. And, being a stylist, especially working in advertising, it takes over your life. Like, especially at the time, commercial shoots would last until like
Long hours.
more than 24 hours. And for
Wow.
me, because I wanted to prove something and I wanted to get more clients and I wanted to make money, I would just, like accept everything. Like, I barely slept. I missed so many reunions and birthdays and weddings and all of that. For me talaga, work was number one. I'll explain later where I get that
Ethic.
discipline, yeah, that work ethic or like discipline. But and so my dad sat me down and he's like, look, you don't sleep, you're barely home, you're always stressed, you're feeling pressured all the time, and you have no money to show for it. What's going on? And my dad was like, that's it. Starting tomorrow, give me your resume. I'm gonna call Tito blah 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 and Tita ganyan ganyan of this bank or this company, and we're gonna give your resume, and like you're gonna get a real job. And then what really kind of like until now it still sparks some sort of emotion was that he kept saying, etong hobby mo, tigilan mo na yung hobby mo, like you better stop it, blah blah blah. And then for me, I was like, what do you mean hobby? Like I've been doing this for like 6 years and I've been working so hard to make my name, and you're calling it a hobby. Like I've shown you some big paychecks, and until now you can't even take it seriously. And then, so I was really like crying, like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Like I don't know where else I wanna be. And then my mom has always been so supportive. Like, now they're both super supportive. I can't complain about that. But like my mom, like if I told her, hey mom, I want to be like an ant breeder or
Or an astronaut.
I want to
or-
be an astronaut or like, whatever. And my mom would be like, you go, like, you be the best ant breeder. Like, I'll support you all the way. That's my mom. So at the time when my dad was talking to me, I had just shot a cover shoot for a magazine with Rufa Gutierrez. And at the time, wala pa yung mga glam teams, like yung mga request. It wasn't
really?
wala pa. It wasn't really common yet. So so I styled her for the first time, and I guess she liked my work, and she told me na parang, oh, like okay ka ha? Like, okay, we'll get you, like, get her number, like, we'll get her for next time. And then, I was telling my dad na parang I was crying, and then he was like, nope, basta, you're gonna stop this hobby. And then I started crying, and I said, like, Dad, just wait. Like, I have a feeling my name's gonna, parang, I'm gonna get
You have to convince
recognized.
your
Yeah,
dad,
I'm gonna get
for sure.
recognized. Like, people are gonna know who I am, and people are gonna know that I'm good at what I do. Like, just wait, just give me a few more months. And he was like, I'm not having it. And then my mom said, you know what? Told my dad, you know what? If our daughter believes in herself so much, then we should also. Because if we don't believe in her, who else is gonna believe in her? So my mom was like, don't listen to him. Like, we'll support you for like maybe a year pa. And then after that, the Rufo cover came out. Rufo started getting me for jobs, and then other celebrities started getting me for jobs. I got more advertising work, and then that's when I can say really that it's become like super full blown.
What a story.
I know, sorry, I said a lot.
No, no, wow, that's amazing. I feel like a lot of people don't know that, and a lot of people can relate because we all have parents who, have an idea of what they feel is best or safe for us.
Of course, yeah.
And like right now, having a career in the creative industries is still a bit like ambiguous to some people. It's like, what are you gonna do to support yourself? But you're a great example of like a
Thanks, I
successful
try.
person. What is your creative process like as a stylist? Let's say you get booked for a job,
Yeah.
and then they give you like the theme or the
Yeah.
look. How do you put your stuff together? Like, what's your process?
It's really different each time, but I guess like if you can say like my step 1, 2, 3. So when I get booked for a job, depends. If it's advertising, it's different. It's more like meticulous, and it's high pressure, of course, because you're working with you're part of a team, and you're working you're working on this project that involves a huge amount of money, like millions of pesos, right? So you need to deliver, you need to be professional, you need to give what the client wants. For more like fashion oriented jobs, like let's say a lookbook or a fashion editorial or even like a brand collaboration. So I get booked for the job, and then I ask, what's the concept or what's the look? And then of course I always ask how many looks or what clothes are required, because so that you can quote properly, because you might quote like, oh, like they'll say like, oh, it's only 2 looks, and then you'll quote like a price thinking it's just casual clothes, and then yung pala gown. So syempre that changes.
Different.
Yeah, so you need to ask for those details, and then of course, where is it going to be used? It's kind of like business questions. And then after that, they schedule a meeting. I like scheduling meetings for like picking brains and like brainstorming. Like it's something that I enjoy. It's kind of like parang it gets my
Gets you in the groove.
yeah
or the
creativity
flow.
yeah going. And then so yeah, we talk about concepts, and then I start sourcing for the clothes. Depends if I'm borrowing it or if I am buying the clothes. And then if they require a fitting, then we fit. But also just for my own individual process. So when I get the concept, I do my research also, especially if it's like a character look or like
Or
a
a period
period
shoot,
yeah,
yeah.
shoot, because you need to get a lot of the even small things like buttons or like patterns correctly, just to kind of like I just always try to come from an authentic place even when I'm doing my job. Like I don't try to wing it, because people will know. So yeah, that's more or less my process. Yeah, and I also very important, since I guess I've been in the industry for a long time, so I know most everyone, but always be open to collaborate, because just because I'm the stylist, or just because let's say you're the director, doesn't mean that you're the only one who gets to have a say. Like you also need to be open to listen to other people, because for me, like every encounter that we have, either brief or seasonal or long, like you're always there to learn something from the person, and the person can learn also something from you. So that's always like how it's like an energy exchange. So just be open. Like sometimes I do have my moments of strong my ego is like so strong. I'll be like, why is this person or this younger
questioning
person
my-
or like this person who doesn't know anything about clothes like questioning or like telling me what to do? But then I realize it's just the ego, and I'm like, no, like let me learn something. I don't know everything, so
It's great that you're so open to that.
have to be. Yeah,
Where do you draw your inspiration from?
it really depends on my current space. In terms of like visuals, I really get inspired by the streets. So like, I mean, even here, like even whatever area, like I'm always just curious, like watching people walk by, looking at what they're wearing, because I feel like everything we wear kind of indicates something about us. Like, why are you wearing that for today? Even if it's just sando and shorts, like, okay, so what's your mood? Like, where are you going? Like, stuff like that. So I'm always thinking, like, I wonder what he does for a living. I wonder where he lives. I wonder,
You
like,
kind of people watch.
kind of, yeah. Like, I love people watching. That's where I draw inspiration from. Most especially when I travel, when I go to another country, like, let's say Europe. Um, I used to go to Paris a lot, and I've never been inside the Louvre. But
Oh.
like, cause I'm not the type of person na parang I'll do all like touristy stuff. I'll, I mean, if it's there, it's there, but it's not something that I'll plan
Or you look for
or I'll look for. But
Okay.
I'm more interested in sitting in a like really cool,
cafe.
quaint cafe and just watching people. If I meet someone there who's like a local also who tells me like, oh yeah, this neighborhood or tonight there's an indie band playing or there's a show or whatever, then that's more what gives me fire rather than those scheduled tours.
Nice.
Yeah.
So being in the fashion industry is known to have this reputation of being, superficial and driven on profit and image. How have you managed to stay authentic and true to yourself?
You know, I was having this conversation the other day with a colleague, and for me, everything is energy. And so for me, I just don't absorb that energy, and because I don't really subscribe, rather. I don't subscribe to that kind of attitude or thinking or energy. And because I don't, parang also the people that I come across with are not like that.
And the people you surround yourself with?
I guess, yeah. I mean, of course, it's a tough industry, right? Like, I mean, Manila is super small. It's a small industry. Everyone knows everybody. Because I'm second generation stylist of when it comes to stylists. So before me, there was one batch, like Sina Luis Espiritu, Milet Arzaga, Jenny Epperson. Like, that generation, I feel like they were really like the pioneers of fashion styling in the Philippines. And then came me, Pam Quinones, Liz Uy, like that. And so on and so forth. And so I feel like since I'm just in the second generation, when I entered the industry, parang people were still like new and like didn't know pa. Like there wasn't like a preconceived notion or like an old system as to how things went. And so all of us became friends. The younger generations now, I don't know all of them or most of them, but and I don't know what the industry is like for them, like from their eyes. But I don't think there's any like issues about like being superficial, cutthroat. I think it's a peaceful industry. I mean, of course, you have your little like pockets of incidents here and there, but generally, parang everyone's really friendly, and I guess it comes with the territory because our work is visual.
Yes.
You know, I can't say, hey Bianca, I didn't really do well in styling this client, but I'm a nice person. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So the way that they gauge your skill is through something that they see, which is a superficial, so to speak, superficial
Aspect, yeah.
output. But you'll be surprised. A lot of the people that I work with, they're so deep. A lot of them are into meditation, awareness. Because people think, oh, we're not so smart. But some were former doctors, some were like former engineers, former flight attendants, pre-med student. You know, it doesn't really say that just because you're in fashion that, you know, you're not very smart. Actually, you need a lot of brain cells. Like you need a lot of it requires a lot of brain work also just to like, you know, kind of like navigate through the
And
business.
a lot of decision making too, right?
A lot of decision making, yeah. So
Good to hear that it's
yeah.
a
No, like I don't know. For me, that's just how I see it. Like I haven't really encountered anyone who was like, what? Like, parang everyone was really nice. Like parang we call each other sis. Like, you know, basta. I don't know. For
or at
me
least
lang.
professional.
Yeah. For me, like I've never had any encounter with anyone who was unpleasant. Or maybe if I have, I just tune them out. But so far, wala. In my 16 years, parang wala.
That's really great, and that's a
Yeah.
fantastic attitude to have. What are your thoughts on fast fashion?
I don't hate it. I feel like maybe also I'm coming from a position wherein that's involved in a lot of the work that I do as a fashion stylist. So I do feel, especially now, because growing up naman, diba? Like I'm sure also for you, like we never really had to think about, using plastic. You
Right.
know, it's only now lang na parang because nga
People
times
are
are
more
changing.
aware.
Yeah, because climate change is real. And of course when you look at the cycle, like the food chain or like the cycle of how things turn around, it's quite scary. And I feel like this is something that I think about every day, that how can I not contribute any further to this destruction? I hope, you know, there'd be more facilities or accessible facilities wherein you can just dump like huge boxes of clothes and then they can recycle it. Because for now, it's very limited by the options. I saw one the other day and I took a screenshot because I wanted to ask how I could do it. But yeah, like, I mean, as I said, like, I have fast fashion items, you know, it's not something that I have been able to effectively avoid. The brands that I work with have taken steps to a more sustainable cycle when it comes to their producing. Like H&M, Uniqlo. Uniqlo, I think you can donate clothes there and then you get like a certain discount or a gift, which I feel like, you know, could be a step already towards a more sustainable consumer's behavior.
Where do you see the local fashion industry heading?
I'm so happy to see local talents getting recognized abroad or getting jobs abroad because I feel like now they're more, the world or the industry at least has been more accepting towards all kinds, right? Unlike before, you had to be like
A certain
a
look.
certain height, a certain look, a certain hair color, or certain weight, body type. But now, parang it's more inclusive, I guess. So yeah, I feel like the local industry is going global. It's more accessible because of social media and the internet. But also, I see the local fashion industry going more towards using local textiles and creating more like heritage pieces, because I've been seeing like more designers use local textiles and it's not a Filipiniana, parang it's more the local textiles are more integrated into the whole ensemble. So I mean, I feel like that's a good thing.
Nice, like yourself.
Yeah.
So
I try.
what's the story? What was the catalyst for you to take the big step from being a stylist to also designing clothes?
Okay, first, I am a I like to call myself the creative director of the brand because I feel like
Okay.
I don't want to be called a designer because I didn't study designing and I super respect designers and their skill. I'm kind of shy about that. But in terms of, I guess, putting up the clothing line, okay. So, 3 years ago, I went to a friend's wedding in Europe and I went around for like almost a month. And then when I came back, usually when I take those, I used to take those kinds of trips like maybe once a year.
Okay.
So I go around for like 3 weeks or a month. And being away from work for a month is already long because, you know, you lose opportunities. I'm freelance. And then when I came back here, usually towards the end of my trip, I'm already excited to come back and work. Syempre, you spent like so much, right? Like, parang, okay, let's get this money back or like, let's start working. But that specific trip, parang I wasn't excited to go back to work. Parang when I came back here, I still was on, in the beginning, akala ko, okay, jet lag. But then after nun, parang it's not, parang I'm not recovering
Were you
from
not
not wanting to even leave.
inspired or
Wala, I felt so uninspired. So like, basta like parang I didn't wanna even see new clothes. I didn't even wanna go to the mall to look at clothes. Like basta. So I said, okay, I think I am experiencing a burnout because it started when I would go to a shoot and before leaving the house, I would cry because I didn't want to go to the shoot. And parang I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so silly. So many people want to get jobs and here you are, like you have a job, but you're crying. Like you don't want to go to the shoot. Like stop being a brat and just, you know, carry on with it. But yun pala, I was getting burnt out na because, you know, like as a freelance stylist, you keep going because, you know, you grab at every opportunity because it might not be here tomorrow. And I had been going for a long time. Like, as I said, kanina, missing so many birthdays, so many weddings because I'm working. And parang now, all of a sudden, I was like, sometimes I come home and I'm like, oh, parang my tummy's really painful. Oh, I forgot to pee. Or like, I forgot to eat. Which was, I was like, okay. So I had to press, I felt literally like I was screaming inside. Like, get me out of here. So I decided to take like a mini sabbatical, which was like 3 months. Like, just not do anything. And during that time, parang I had a feeling na parang, yeah, like, in terms of being a stylist, like, I've done all the shoots that I want. I think I've proven myself to the industry. I think, I've made a little name for myself. Like, I'm okay with that. What's next? And then I realized that I wanted to do something that had more of an impact. Like, not just like pera-pera na parang you do a shoot, you get paid, you go home, forget it, that's it. So, but I didn't know what the next step was. So I had to take a moment, 3 months, of just not even leaving my condo that much. I was just in my apartment, and the whole day I would just watch, I don't know, inspiring videos or just write in my journal. And then anyway, one morning I woke up and I realized, look, I don't think it's random that you've been in this industry at the time for 13 years. And then you also have this colorful heritage of my ancestors have lived very colorful lives, have left us with such colorful legacy. I don't think it's random. So maybe marry that and do something with it. And since fashion's the only thing that I know, that I'm familiar with, so I was like, okay, let's put up a clothing line. But I didn't know where to start. Wala, nothing talaga. And it did. So now the clothing line's doing really well, thanks to you. Like
Yes,
you,
I love it. Like,
Bianca's our muse.
not
Like,
being biased, it's just there's nothing like this out
thank
there with the
you.
edge and like.
Thank you so much.
Love it.
No, but
Okay.
Bianca's helped us. Like, people like you have helped us also, and we're so grateful. But like, the clothing line's doing really well. So I feel like also, I mean, maybe I'm giving myself maybe like a few more years in the styling world, because yun nga, I feel like, okay, I've kind of done what I wanted to do, and I feel like all my years in styling was a stepping stone for this, I guess, greater purpose.
Amazing.
Because I always am so proud to be from Mindanao. More so from Zamboanga and Sulu. I've always wanted to tell people about it. I'm always like, sometimes I feel like people get bored with me because I talk so much about it. But I'm always like, yeah, in Sulu, it's like this, and then there, da 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 da.
No, we
but
love watching your stories of when you go back.
when I go
and-
back home. Yeah, it's kind of like my passion to talk about it, because I want people to know how beautiful it is, and maybe one day people can focus just more on the beauty and
Instead of
not
all
on the
the-
bad stuff, right?
Right.
There is bad stuff happening. I'm not gonna deny that, but I just choose to focus. I choose to focus on the beautiful side, which is the culture, because it's there. Even if there's war or there's terrorism happening, culture is still there. So yeah, so I just kind of, it was just really like a synchronicity of some sort. Na parang I just woke up, I was like, well, these are my ancestors, and this is my bloodline, and this is what I do for a living. How can I combine those two worlds?
Like you
And
said,
then
marry it together.
Marry, yeah.
Wow.
And then now here we are.
Can you tell
you
us?
wearing?
Yeah, I know. By
Looks
the
so
way,
beautiful
this
on
is
you.
Herman and Co. original.
Thanks.
Can you tell us the story behind the brand name Herman and Co?
Okay, so as you mentioned earlier, I'm part German, and my family came to the Philippines 5 generations ago during the late 1800s, like mga around 1866, ganyan. So my great-great-grandfather, who's from Germany, Herman Schuck, he got commissioned to do a job. He was a ship captain, and he got commissioned to do a job, and then he sailed, the typical story. And then he traversed the Sulawesi Seas, meaning like Borneo and like parts of Singapore, ganyan. And then anyway, he docked on the waters of Sulu. And then of course he's super like Caucasian, and then the Tausugs had a monarchy, so the king was there, the sultan was there. And then anyway, they became fast friends, and what I really love about this story is that, it's not the typical, it's not that it's typical, it's not the cliche story of the Westerner, or like the Caucasian Westerner who came into this land and conquered everyone and happily ever after. What Herman did was, when he docked in Sulu, fell in love with the land, he converted into Islam, and then he became Tausug.
Wow.
Like blonde and blue-eyed, like became a Tausug, and he remarried and married a Tausug woman, and so that's how our generation started.
Your great grandmother.
Dalawa lang, my great grandfather. Wow, no nga, 1300s na, no? My great grandfather. So he was the right hand man of the sultan. So that's why so we became like blood brothers with the monarchy. And so that's why today the monarchy recognizes our blood compact pa rin. So when we see them, we're considered family.
That's amazing.
It's truly amazing because we're living in this world like, we're here in BGC, like it's so modern, like, but then you go back and there's like this fairy tale, which is
You
a
have such a
reality
rich
also.
story in your
That's what I
family's
really love
history.
about being from there is, yeah, that kind of story. Na I feel like, I hope people don't forget because that's also history. I hope people don't um, forget their culture and their history. So, yeah.
So in a way, you're keeping it all alive.
Yeah, so when I was coming up with the name, sorry to answer your question, when I was coming up with the name, I thought about all these like native words, but then I was thinking, well, I want the brand to eventually go global, and then also I was thinking, well, Herman is the reason why we're here. He's the root of our family, so I was like, okay, let's just call it Herman and Co.
Love it. So,
Thanks.
when working with local tribes and artisans from Mindanao, what measures do you take to showcase their craftsmanship, but in still respectful and cultural way?
Oh, that's foremost in
Their traditions.
the creative process, foremost, because my family's from there, so I have to do right by them, right? Like by the community. So for now, we've only used from Mindanao, we've only used three types of weaves. Yakan from Basilan, which I purchased from Zamboanga. We're very transparent about that. Um, and then I use Pisyabit, which is the traditional tausug textile. I have a lot of insights about that. I'll tell you in a bit. And then the third one, we've kind of experimented with woven textiles from Marawi. Um, okay, so Pisyabit, it's this really, it's what I'm wearing now.
Yeah, I was about to ask, like, is
This
it that?
pattern, yeah. So as I said, the Tausug culture, it's very like all about like regal, royal, because we have a monarchy. Everyone likes gold and basta like really, really
Striking colors.
striking and
yeah.
really ostentatious symbols. And so this textile from back in the day, like again, I think during my great grandfather's generation. So the Tausugs are warriors by blood. We are warriors by blood. Because in a tribal system, some are like traders, some are I guess artists, ganyan. The Tausugs are warriors. So we pride ourselves to this day for being matapang and talagang brave. Like wala kaming aatrasan, like you don't want to mess with us, that kind of thing. We're really matapang. We're really quite feisty. So this textile used to be used by the warriors on their heads to symbolize courage and nobility, and sometimes around their waist where they hang their weapons, like the kris, yung parang that long knife, because they're warriors. So since it's a symbol of nobility, we don't recommend for it to be used from the waist down. Although this is not really well communicated. Not everyone knows this because sometimes I still see other people using it for their shoes or for their pants. But for me, I don't naman believe in the call out culture. For me, just educate na lang. Then I tell them, oh, actually, sorry, we actually discourage it from being used. Ganyan.
Waist down.
Yeah, because like when you ask the weavers now, they'll say na, yeah, okay lang, do whatever you want with it. I guess because you pay for the textile naman. But parang for me kasi I just do extra research, and I feel like since my family's tausog, I have to
Respect that.
respect that
Yeah.
na parang ganon. But I mean, to each his own, right? Can't control everyone, but I just choose to always put tradition first before current, because tradition is history, eh. Like parang who are you to say ay dapat hindi na ganyan, or unless the chief of the tribe says so. But I mean, who am I to say never mind, I'll do it my own way. So
Okay.
yeah.
And what are some of the challenges you've faced in running this fair trade business?
You know what? Not so much. In the beginning, I feel like a lot of startup companies can relate. In the beginning, struggle with finances, of course, because when I started this, as I said, just woke up one day and said, okay, I'm gonna do this. I didn't really predict that it would grow as fast as it did, rather. So in the beginning, parang shocks. Okay, I can only afford to buy this much tela, ganyan. But aside from that, I guess time, because I'm still a full-time stylist. That's it. Like we haven't really had any like overt problems or struggles. Yeah.
Well, glad to hear that. I was so honored to play Muse to your latest collection.
Yes,
But
forever
little
Muse na.
but little did you know, you're also Muse to us here at Grounded.
Oh, wow.
For everything you stand for and what you do, can you share with us what inspired your latest collection, Layag?
Layag, which you starred in. So Layag was our collection for Artefino, the recently concluded Artefino, and it was our first attempt, not attempt, our first time to join Artefino. It had, we were so scared, like it's the first time that the brand has ventured into something that required a huge inventory. We usually just have like limited pieces, but this one we had to make a lot, of course, because Artefino is really big. And so I was just thinking like Layag means to sail, right? And that's exactly how the journey felt. Na parang okay, now we've been like doing this. Now it's time to like
You're on this
set
voyage.
sail.
Yeah.
So parang and it's kind of like a collage. If I were to like visualize it, like a collage of like the different weaves and designs that the best sellers and the new designs also, just kind of really like an accumulation of inspiration that I've experienced since Herman started. So parang yeah, just felt like a setting sail kind of moment. I don't know.
Oh my days. And how can we all connect to our inner muse?
I there are days that I feel so fugly, not just like inside and out. You know what I mean? Like it's a
Yeah, we all get
woke up
those.
the wrong way.
Do you have like
or,
a ritual or something?
just to kind of just so I won't be too intense or too anxious. I make sure that I meditate in the morning. A lot of times it helps but there are days na parang I just feel derailed. I got into theta healing. For those
Just
of you who
about to
don't
ask you
know,
about that, but
yeah, for those of you who
continue.
don't know, theta healing is a modality, kind of like Reiki or crystal healing. It's a modality that accesses your subconscious when you're in the theta state. But it's a meditative state that you need to get into. And in that theta, because you have like gamma, beta,
Brainwaves.
brainwaves. When you get into the theta brainwave, it's in the theta state where you can access your creator, whoever you believe in, right? And then you can manifest anything, you can visualize anything. And so I had been going through a really low point in 2014. And I just felt so empty and I needed something that could kind of rescue me from that. Little did I know that I had so many issues pala. Things happen when you're a child, kind of molds you into the adult that you are today. They say the child is the father of the man. So I just had to work through those issues, and I've had a lot of like work that I had to do when it came to self-worth. And so, like parang for me it was like, shucks, I've been walking around this earth for so long feeling not worthy of all the good things, of great things, of big things. So that's kind of like how I accessed my inner muse, na parang I was always looking for outside affirmation and love. And like even the relationships that I would get into were always me trying to please the other person or like run after the other person because I felt so not worthy. But theta healing helped me. So they kind of just access your subconscious and just they tell you what's going on. You work with a spiritual healer and everything's confidential. They just help you clear beliefs that limit you in your present life. So that's kind of like that's like my tool. Every time I feel like a bit out of sorts, parang I just do a theta session or I meditate na parang just
pause
sit
and you-
still and just like, and people think that meditation means not thinking about anything. No, it's not. Hello, like you're always thinking about something. It's just sitting still and just let your thoughts just kind of like circle around your head. If it gets too like noisy or then just focus on your breathing and then
Breathe through it.
breathe through it. It's not about not thinking about anything or like spiritual being. It's not like that.
I feel like you can't know who you are until you truly listen and like
Yeah, and like who you are.
shut out all the other voices.
Exactly. I get a lot of questions regarding like how do I know what my passion is or how do I know what I want to do next? And I always say just take the time to listen to yourself. We live in such a fast-paced space that you barely get enough time to listen to yourself. You're always talking to someone, you're on social media, looking at other people's lives. You're always thinking about this bill I need to pay
what's
for,
next,
my
or
deadline,
yeah.
what's next, what do I need to do today, blah blah blah. But if you really take the time to be by yourself and listen to what you really want, you'll be amazed at what comes up.
Right.
So I feel like that's so important. Like, me time or you time is so important, even if you're married,
Mm-hmm.
even if you're a mom.
No, it's essential
Yeah, like
for
parang
sure.
it's give yourself importance because you deserve it.
And you need it.
You
You
need
need
to
it to
invest in
function.
yourself. Yeah.
Funny because I was listening to this podcast
Yeah.
by Jay Shetty, and his guest was
I
Marie
love him.
Forleo.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not sure if you've heard of her, but she's this amazing woman entrepreneur. She helps people. She has a business school,
Yeah.
and she was also one of Nike's first elite dancers.
Really?
So she was saying, like, a lot of people ask her, how can you tell when something is intuition or it's fear? Or how can you
Mm.
tell if, let's say, you have a situation, you've been invited to speak as a guest speaker, or you have a date or a talk or
Yeah.
something? How can you tell if it's right for you, if you're like at a crossroads? And she said, we're so out of touch with our bodies.
Yep.
But if you actually just like tuned into yourself, the answers are all there.
Yeah.
So she was saying what always works for her, and she says anyone can try this because, these days, like, we have desk jobs, we're
Mm.
seated for like 8 hours or just commuting, stuck in traffic on
Mhm.
EDSA. So I don't know, you don't really get to move around a lot. But then when you exercise or whatever suits you, take a brisk walk, and then you kind of go quiet, like you
Yeah.
mentioned. And she says you ask yourself the question. So for example, like, should I like perform at this event? It's like out of the way and like my schedule, whatever. Should I do this? You ask yourself the question, and then you right in that instant notice if your body is contracting
Mhm.
or expanding.
Yep.
Meaning, like, you'll just notice it. Like, is your chest kind of like, does it feel
Yep.
heavy all of a sudden, or are you opening up? Are you breathing deeper?
Yeah.
Or even in, like, are your shoulders starting to hunch, and like,
Yep.
that's the protective stance. You
Yeah.
curl up into a ball, or are you like open to it? So
Yep.
she said that's one of the ways, and I totally agree. It's like what you said.
Like when I go through a theta healing session, like sometimes I'll think of, like, let's say it was an unpleasant childhood memory that kunyari still hurts me to this day, and then I'm crying or like I'm getting emotional, and then the healer will ask, tell me where it hurts. Sometimes it's here pala, and parang you'll be like, what happened
So
here?
it's specific
Yun pala, parang
spots.
maybe you were hit there, or maybe you fell when you were mga ganyan. So it's really
Interesting.
like, for me, like, our bodies tell us so much about ourselves. And for me now, like, I'm not saying this is for everyone, but just for me, like, this is just my cognitive process when it comes to when I feel something, like, let's say it's a migraine. I always check the chakras. Before, I used to be like, okay, I have a migraine, I'll just drink paracetamol or ibuprofen. But then now, like, let's say if my head hurts, I'm like, okay, that's the crown chakra. What is wrong? The crown chakra is more for like thinking and wisdom and all of that. What's wrong? Oh yeah, I've been thinking too much about this problem. Or like, let's say, oh, my tummy hurts. Like, why does my stomach hurt? Or like, let's say I have an upset stomach. And stomach is love and
Right.
abandonment or fear also. And then I realized, oh yeah, parang I'm in a state of fear now because blah 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 blah. And then I'll just do my meditation or my theta meditation and clear some whatever or send love to that specific organ. And then mawawala na siya.
And it helps.
You
You,
know.
didn't have to like pop a pill or
Yeah, I mean,
anything. Yeah.
I'm not saying that don't ever pop pills. Like,
Yeah.
I also do, like parang,
But it's good
but I'm
to
saying,
check
like,
in first.
that's my first ano na parang, what's
Yeah.
wrong? Oh, I've been thinking too much, ganyan, ganyan. Okay, let me drink medicine after. But at least I know what's going on inside me. Like, just kind of like tuning into myself.
Yeah, and that's great because you heal yourself in that
Yeah.
way. So at Grounded, we firmly believe in creativity and the arts as a
Mm-hmm.
healing tool. As a theta healer yourself, do you ever find your healing journey and your career in fashion on a similar plane?
I'm sure there are some, but more often it's just really about being more aware now of energy and where I want to spend my energy, or it's just being more like mindful of how you treat people.
Right.
And also realizing that a lot of it is the ego, in such a visual industry, right?
Okay.
So yeah, so that's kind of like, parang I wouldn't say na they're similar or parallel because I feel like they're so different. But what parang I just want to say, like, where I've been able to use healing and awareness is when it comes to those things, na energy, mindfulness, ganon.
And on that note, what are some of the ways you protect your energy? Because you seem to have a very strong and special connection with nature. I noticed like we've done shoots together.
Yeah, oo nga,
Like
no?
you like, being barefoot or just going into
Yeah.
the forest. Does being in nature help you recenter yourself?
Of course, I feel like nature is healing. Also when we do our meditations, we always make sure to ground ourselves. So of course, Mother Nature, Mother Earth, um, there's so much energy there. So yeah, of course, definitely.
She's the OG healer.
Of course.
And during days when everything seems to go wrong or you're in a super high stress environment, how do you center yourself? Like you're on the go, you're traveling. Like remember recently you told me about your
Oh my
really crazy
gosh.
trip to London
Yes.
where like your phone
My
wasn't working,
phone wasn't
like
working.
the card wasn't
My
accepted.
credit card wasn't
Yeah.
my no, not that it was not working because I forgot to call
To
my
tell them,
bank.
yeah, that you
But
were traveling.
my credit card wasn't working, my phone wasn't
Yeah.
working.
You
What
were
else?
stuck
I
in
was
the
sick.
airport. You
I was
were
stuck at the
sick.
airport. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna cry. But I always just say, why am I manifesting this? Like, why am I creating this? So when I went to the UK, so all of those things happened, and I was like, instead of before, I used to have like a victim perspective,
Mentality.
perspective when it came to things. Na parang, oh, why is this happening to me? I'm such a good person. I blah blah blah. But then I was like, okay, why am I creating this? Bea, relax. Why are you creating this? And when it came to that, I realized that I had been so busy before leaving for the UK, like super busy. Like, oh, I can't wait to disconnect. Like, basta, like, I can't wait to sleep on the plane and be away. I can't wait to disconnect. Oh, yun nga, nag-disconnect. Be careful what you wish for because sometimes you manifest things but you forget
Right.
to be specific. What kind of disconnect do you want? Like, I just want quiet time pala. O, di yun. But, yeah, I learned my lesson. So, I cleared it. I meditated, I cleared it na parang, okay, universe, creator, I don't mean literal disconnect. And then the next day, it was a happy time.
Bea, do you have a social media regimen? For someone so
Oh.
busy, you seem to have the time to answer questions openly and honestly as possible.
On
and,
IG?
and you curate these beautiful stories. And how much time do you let it take up in your day? Because at Grounded, we're trying to navigate the healthy relationship and find the balance with social media.
I am a mood poster.
We're the
Like,
same.
yeah, like parang, if you notice, sometimes I won't post anything for 3 weeks.
We're the same.
It
Okay.
either means I am super busy or I'm just uninspired. Like, I have nothing good to post. I mean, my photos, I try to post nice photos. Of course, you filter it and stuff like that, and you think of nice captions.
You curate it.
Yeah, I mean, I try, but also if I don't have anything that I feel inspiring to post, parang I'm not gonna post anything because as I said, parang I want it to always be authentic. Na parang I'm not gonna post like I'm laughing and then today
That's
was
great.
a tough day. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Parang I can't live with myself I'm not hating on other people who can do that. It's just me personally, it's something I cannot do. So
You have to
for
be in
social
that
media,
headspace.
I don't spend so much time on it. I mean, when I'm
Okay.
in between shoots or shots rather, like if I'm in a TVC shoot and the setup time is so long, then I'll be on my, you just browse through your phone. So I wouldn't say that it's to a toxic level na parang you're just like on it all the time.
But it's great. You don't feel pressured to like post something every day.
No.
Just so, people are
Unless
like,
I have brand collaboration deliverables like a scheduled post, then of course you have to accommodate that. But minsan it's not like every day. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that I have a healthy relationship with social media. I just don't like it when people. I just don't like it when it gets too toxic or people use it to bash other people or make other people jealous or compete with other people.
or
Parang-
bully people.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah.
That part I don't like.
Same, but it's funny because Marika and I,
Yeah.
we're super mood posters. I think that should be
Yeah.
a term now. It's like
Mood
really funny. Like
poster.
I don't know, if we are in not a great, like are having a bad day,
Yeah.
just won't even
Same, yeah.
touch our phones. But
Yeah.
okay,
Sometimes I struggle also. Sometimes I'm like, I want to share like that I went through a tough time, blah, blah, blah. But should I share it? Is it sharing too much? Maybe people won't listen. Maybe no one cares. Mga ganyan. I have mga moments like that
these
also.
are all questions we ask, but just so you know, we care.
I feel it. Okay, I'll share everything. No, I'm just
Kidding.
kidding.
What's your advice to people who have developed social media anxiety because of all this comparison,
Oh.
because it's the highlight reel that you see.
Right.
Everyone's best days,
Right,
like
right,
or
right.
food or
Right.
travel. So I don't know. A lot of
Oh.
people suffer from anxiety now.
Girl, I get it sometimes. I mean, I just said I have a healthy relationship, but once in a while, I do get that feeling. Na parang kunyari, so as I said, I'm freelance, and sometimes I won't get work for like, let's say, 2 weeks. It's just a season. Like, it happens to everyone.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just really like that. Also, biggest learning or realization is the opposite of love is fear. It's not hate, it's not indifference, it's actually fear. And sometimes, often, I find myself in a state of fear. Like, oh, what if people are not gonna like it? Or, because yun nga, I'm in a visual industry. What if, they don't approve, ganyan, ganyan. But then I was like, why am I in a state of fear? And then once I realized I'm in a state of fear, I just try to switch it to a state of love. Na parang, no, they wanted me to come here. So they must approve and they must like, parang ganyan. And then, parang the perspective changes. So, yun.
Really loving all this self-awareness.
I'm not it's still something that
No, of course,
I'm
but
trying my best to do. It's not like, oh, I have it all
no, but
figured
the
out.
fact that you can,
But
talk
just
to yourself
notes.
and
Yeah.
converse with yourself and see what's wrong and what's going right and
Yeah.
how you can move more in the direction of something positive.
Yeah.
It's great.
Thanks.
How do you have any advice for those looking to pursue a career in fashion?
Just make sure that you really want to do it and you're getting into it for the right reasons. I've had a lot of applications for applicants for assistant positions that, oh, because it's glamorous, I love shopping, I love clothes. It's not enough. You really must have the passion to create, but also being prepared that, you need to go through certain things to kind of like make your mark. I before like I think there was a time I was someone's assistant, and if I had to get coffee for them, so be it. I want to be here. I don't remember a single time in my career where I had to wherein I thought ang hirap nito, ayoko na. Like, no, for me, I'm gonna be a stylist. If it's hard, well, I'm gonna be a stylist. So it's, let it be. So parang for me, you have to really make sure that it's from an authentic intention of wanting to create, wanting to help the local industry, wanting to make an impact in the local industry, because it's not an easy job. It's really not. It's so not. It's so demanding, takes your time.
You really have to commit.
Yeah, man. Like, super have to
That's-
commit.
That's really great advice. So for those listening who want to get started,
Take note.
like reflect on that.
Yeah.
And what's next for Bea Constantino?
What's next for me? I don't know. Hoping to expand the clothing line even more to maybe other countries next year. I'm hoping to maybe be able to study like a short course on like design or fashion business. I'm hoping to be able to work more with the community in Sulu. Something that I'm working on now because of the peace conflict. Sometimes it gets a little tricky. And maybe be able to start a family soon. It's something that I want. And also to keep on dancing. Yeah.
Yes, girl. Well, we wish
Get it.
you all the best. And
Thank you.
Last but not the least, how do you stay grounded?
I always go back to my why. Okay, so last story. In when I was dancing like actively almost 2 decades ago, 17 years ago, there was this dance teacher who super hard the class. And I was like, I was a teenager pa then. So I was like, what is this? And then it was so hard, right? I didn't do well in the class. And then at the end, the teacher gathered us in the floor, in the center. And he was like, okay, guys, no matter what you do, when you feel lost, always go back to the bar. The bar where you
Yes.
do your ballet stuff. And parang we were like, what? Okay, whatever. I was too young and too naive, I guess, to understand. But later on, I understood that the bar represented your why. The bar, yun pala, what he meant was, later on, I think someone was able to ask him, like, what did you mean? And he said, the bar, everyone has to go through the bar. Even if you're the best dancer in the world, you enter a dance studio. You never enter a dance studio and you just start like dancing and doing jumps and stuff. You always start with a bar. The best dancer in the world starts with a bar. You start your warm-up in the bar, your pliés and stuff.
Stretch.
You stretch. Everything starts there. So every time you feel lost, go back to why you started. So like, let's say, even with styling, I've had to do this a couple times. I'm like, oh, it's so, parang it's so stressful. Like, this client is, parang nakaka-pressure. And then I'm like, parang, sometimes I question, am I still doing the right thing? And then I go back to my why. Like, how did I want to start? Oh, I remember seeing like old Teen Vogue magazines from the newsstand before and getting it, or Candy magazine, and then like reading through it. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to be there. I want to be in the magazine industry or ganyan. That's why I started. That's why I wanted to create. That's where I felt the first feeling of wanting to create. So when I read, you go back to your why, you kind of go back to why did you want to start, and you find yourself again. That's how I kind of like, center myself again. Parang, oh, okay. Oh, this is why I did it.
That's so inspiring, and that is how you stay grounded.
That's how I stay
And
grounded.
it's a
Yeah.
great reminder for everyone too, because you
Thanks,
can get
yeah.
lost.
Yeah, like
And
for
like
you,
said,
like
yeah,
why do you
same
want to do
with
music? Yeah.
I also
Like take yourself to the first time
exactly
that you ever felt that, oh, parang I want to do music.
like
I want to sing.
inspired.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. That moment.
yeah.
Yeah.
Even now, I'm just like,
Diba?
yeah.
Yeah.
So thank
Na-inspire
you
ka.
so
Thanks,
much for your
guys.
time, Bea.
Thank
We
you.
really appreciate
Thank
it,
you so much.
and we wish you all the best. And
Thank
take
you.
care.
Thank you.
And I will be
And
wearing your
likewise.
clothes.
Thank you for our next shoot. Yeah.
Yeah.